Welcome to part 2 on our video lecture series on closing. Part 2 presents a variety of closes as well as some guidance on style and the process of closing. There are several tactics to follow when setting up to close or when actually closing. First, maintain a positive attitude during the entire sales process, and most importantly, maintain that positive attitude while closing. Second, control the conversation, but let the customer set the pace. This gives the interaction a feeling of balance and fairness, as well as provides the customer with a sense of control. Last, be assertive, but not aggressive. This means ask for what you want, but in a very nice way. This means say please, use pleasant tones, reduce the speech volume. For example, the wrong way to get you excited about doing your homework is, watch this video or you will fail the course. Versus the right way is, to get an A in this course, you really need to watch all of those videos. Other things to keep in mind are, when the customer wants to buy, let them. Don't keep talking. If the customer wants to make some positive statements, let them. Give them the floor. We have a saying in sales. When a salesperson makes a statement about their product or service, it's almost meaningless. But when the customer says something positive about the transaction, then it becomes the unquestionable truth. Don't present everything you know about the product or service in your presentation. If you do, then you will overwhelm the customer as well as bore them. The customer is never interested in everything your product or service could do. You should only present the benefits that are of significance to the customer. In addition, if the customer raises some objections, then it's very helpful to overcome these new objections with more information and additional product benefits. Also, sell the prospect what they want to buy and in the amounts they want to buy. It's much easier this way, and everyone leaves happy. Don't forget that the happy customer always buys more later. If you oversell or sell what you want to sell instead of what the customer wants to buy, then you will probably end up with nothing sold. Please now pause your video and answer the first question for this video lecture in part 2, which is, what does it mean to be assertive, not aggressive? When asking for a signature on a contract, it is best to use words such as approval or okay the paperwork. These words are less legalistic and thus less threatening. We will discuss how to specifically ask for the approval in just a few minutes. Once you get an approval, reinforce that decision with statements like, I know you will be very happy that you made this decision. Or show appreciation by the order by thanking the customer. Thank you. All right, after you make a sale, you want to keep things very positive so you can sell more to the customer as well as to the customer's friends and associates. You might even ask the customer if they have a colleague who has similar business needs that your product or service can solve. Last, if you get rejected, take the rejection with grace and thank the customer for their time and the chance to present your wares. Customers often find out later that you were the best solution for their needs. They were just afraid to make a mistake. If you keep the door open, then next week the customer might call you with an order. Now, we're finally to closing techniques. There's 3 types of closes: the direct close, the indirect close, the silence close. The direct close, as you might expect, asks the customer to buy. A salesperson just asks the customer's approval on the paperwork, or the customer's purchase order number, etc. The direct close can also come in the form of a command. Just approve the paperwork where I have marked a red X. If a customer gives numerous objections, then a salesperson might ask, if I can do that, then are you ready to buy? And that's called a sharp angle close. All right, direct assumptive close is best with the driver personality styles or controlling personalities. A driver would usually use a direct assumptive close themselves and generally respects the style of closing. With these people, the close should be very assumptive. It is best if it is a command, not a question, and should be delivered with a slightly elevated volume in a very assumptive manner. That is, not a lot louder, but still slightly louder than your previous statement with a little bravado. So, for example, please okay this paperwork and we can get started. All right, an assumptive sharp angle is just like the sharp angle close, but it is a little more of a form of a command rather than a question, and it has a little more bravado. So let me try this one. Just give me your authorization and I will make sure your order arrives in less than 3 days, just as you requested. All right, Now, please pause your video and answer the second question here for this video lecture part 2, which is asking the prospect for a purchase order number is which type of direct close? Indirect closes are less confrontational and are effective with non-driver personalities. They imply a purchase has been made rather than asking for direct confirmation. Examples are the alternative of choice, which asks the customer to choose between two options with both options indicating a purchase. Did you want the cold, tall coffee or the grande? The finance close is similar to the alternative choice, but since it is used so often, it has its own title, which is, will that be cash or charge? With the order blank close, the salesperson asks for something seemingly harmless, information, such as the customer's business zip code, and then writes it on the contract, and then confirms the telephone number, and keeps filling in the contract. Unless the customer stops them, the sale is made. The order blank close was my favorite close for the first few years of my career. All right, there are many types of indirect closes. We have provided the most common. Indirect closes can also come in the form of terms of agreement questions, such as delivery dates, accessories needed, installation dates, etc. Now, please pause your video and answer the third question for this video lecture in part 2, which is, asking the prospect for their zip code is part of which type of indirect close? Silence can also be used as a close, especially in America, since most Americans are uncomfortable with silence. When a salesperson has said everything they want to say, often there's a pause. At this point, it may be a good idea for the salesperson to let the customer make the next move. Sometimes after a silence, a customer just signs the contract that the salesperson had conveniently placed in front of the customer. Okay? Or perhaps the customer makes a statement indicating an intention to buy, and the salesperson then produces the contract. Other silent closes occur when the salesperson just starts filling in the contract without saying a word, or when the salesperson simply hands the customer an expensive pen, as well as the contract, but says nothing. The silence close is not used very often, but in some instances, it's the best choice. Of course, if the customer responds to the salesperson's silence with an objection, which does occur, then the salesperson solves this with the objection handling process and then attempts a verbal close. Now, we also have the 64 yes close, also known as the series of acceptance closes. It was famous in the 60s. It was used by encyclopedia salespeople so effectively that it was specifically outlawed in several states. The encyclopedia salesperson would ask numerous questions such as, do you support your child's education? Do you sometimes wish you had an easy way to find the answers to questions posed to you by your friends and family? Do you think a comprehensive reference book might improve your children's performance on their homework? And so on. And then would conclude with, would you like to buy this encyclopedia? Or, let's get this encyclopedia ordered. Today, consumers are much more savvy. But we still see this technique used by real estate professionals, since it fits the real estate transaction almost perfectly. You can refer to the PowerPoint slide here to get the specific real estate example. Our last set of closing techniques are similar to the pre-close, which we will present in the closing video lecture 3. However, these last two closes are slightly different than our pre-close. The first, the erroneous conclusion close, occurs when the salesperson asks an incorrect question to build the buyer's conviction, such as, you wanted the beige paint, right? And the customer hopefully responds, no, I told you I want the blue paint. And the salesperson then responds, oh, I'm so sorry. Let me write that up right now so I can get everything exactly as you desire with no errors. And they fill out the contract. The reduction to the ridiculous specifically deals with price objections. The technique reduces a price differential into monthly or daily or even hourly amounts. For example, if the customer says it's too expensive, then the salesperson agrees, yeah, it's too expensive. But then asks, how much too much is it? And is it better than the alternative if the prices were equal? If the customer agrees it is better than the alternative at the same price, then the salesperson breaks down the difference into daily increments. For example, we agreed that the Mercedes is about $20,000 more than the comparable Ford. Yeah? And we also agreed that you would probably keep either car for about 5 years, correct? So that means you could drive the Mercedes instead of the Ford for less than $11 a day. since $20,000 divided by 365 and then divided by 5 years, is $10.96 a day. So you got to ask yourself, is it worth $11 a day to you to drive this prestigious Mercedes, which makes you feel good every time you get behind the wheel, versus, I guess we could say, a poor man's car? Question 4. Please now pause your video and answer the fourth question for this video lecture part 2. When a salesperson asks several questions in a sequence, such as, this house has the floor plan you wanted, doesn't it? The neighborhood, it's good. The backyard fits your needs. They are using what type of close? That concludes this portion of the closing video lecture, part 2. You now need to decide which type of closes work best for you and then practice them and perfect them. Thank you for watching.